I'm so excited to share my friend, Katherine, a light worker and practitioner that is helping humans really get more aligned from the inside out. So, Katherine, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's fantastic to be here.
Well, as I'm working through introducing so many of the women in my network to the women of Together We Seek and beyond, I love to talk about different practices, modalities, and even healing. So tell us a little bit about the work you do with Body Talk.
Yes. So Body Talk is this amazing technique that allows your body to tap into its own knowledge of healing. So if we cut ourselves, the body does this natural, incredible process of healing that wound, right? However, there may be day-to-day stresses. There may be someone who itches a little bit and begins to scratch off that scar as it's just beginning to heal. Or there may have been a trauma that caused that scar to, or the cut to have been experienced. And those traumas, those emotional situations, the day-to-day stress, all of our life that leads up to an accident or an illness or something of that sort can be uncovered through Body Talk. And the way in which that happens is a systematic approach to using a series and a map with muscle checking to tap into the knowledge that the heart has that communicates then through the muscles to tell me, and then for me to tell our client what it is that's going on internally. And then the body already knows those things as we voice them and get them out loud. So the left brain of the client gets to understand it, and the right brain and the heart and even the gut brain begin to heal it.
So interesting. So what you're saying is that your body talks to you as the practitioner, and maybe it is even available to us if we are aware.
Absolutely. We all have that capacity from within to listen to our own heart, right? And that is something that I've been trained to do over 21 years of practice, to be able to talk to the body through its own physiology, even its anatomy, and where, if you have a hysterectomy, for instance, the small intestine might be a little discombobulated. It might be a little disorganized as to where it might be. So the anatomy is important as well. And then, of course, the psychology of every organ, endocrine, and body part has its own ability to talk to me, the practitioner, or to the client directly through that mechanism of yes-no questions. It's like playing 20 questions with the body. And when we do that, it begins to tell a story.
And so Body Talk, is that something you created?
No, Dr. John Veltheim, founder of the Body Talk system, developed a map, Western medicine, Eastern medicine, that encompasses pretty much as much back down to the Vedas, that Hindu tradition that is the backbone of some of our Sanskrit language that comes in as the psychology, anatomy, and physiology. Maybe, a Sanskrit word that those English words get to about the level of a river. But a Sanskrit word, as we talk about sattva, rajas, and tamas, which are these big concepts that are more like oceans. And they tap into that ocean of love behind the heart that then comes forth and begins to, like I said, tell that story. And John Veltheim pulled together horoscopes. He pulled together planets into this. So there's kind of that big macro picture, in addition to down to the level of the genetic code. So we go from the big macro to the body itself with our emotional, physical, and spiritual dynamics, whether that be through chakras or meridians, like you would with acupuncture, but also down to that aspect of the liver being angry at the gallbladder for the way in which you're functioning, or angry at the person in some ways because they were going out and getting ready for a run, and then the girlfriend calls and they're like, oh yeah, I'll go to dinner with you. And the whole physiology in the body has to shift and change from going out and doing physical activity to going into digestion. That's a major shift in the whole physiology of the body, and the liver has to handle that. And sometimes, especially if it's repetitive, that angry organ begins to emerge as angry at everybody. And then the whole internal system gets discombobulated.
So through your work, would you say that the body holds the energy that we're experiencing, maybe for a short time or even a long time?
Absolutely. We can have things show up in utero all the way through childbirth, those early years of 1 through 7, in which so much conditioning happens during that time period, all the way up to yesterday. And even, a sense of the stress coming in the door versus the relaxation in leaving the office can be a dramatic shift just from driving to my office, right? Driving in the rain may be a challenge. Driving at night may be a challenge. Or even the thought processes that are going on all the way you're driving to my office can cause that all the way back from, and frankly, you can go back to the genetic history of your ancestors and seeing that their day-to-day influences of their life, or something stuck on the genetic code that was translated from generation to generation back forward, can be healed down at that level of the genes. And then it miraculously affects the family. Your children can be influenced by a change that we change in our genetics, has an energetic shift for the entire family.
It's amazing. And I would say, I've worked with you virtually, and people, if you find somebody that is in your area, or you can work with Katherine virtually, but like, how do you know when you should have it? Like, how do you know, like, oh, I should explore body talk? Because I think it's one of those things that either somebody tells you about or maybe you stumble across. But even so, like, if I was looking at your website, it sounds marvelous of the results of what can happen. But like, what happens? Like, as you, the practitioner, are working with, like, say, me or somebody else, what are you actually doing during the session you have together?
Okay, so two-part question there. How would someone find me and know that they needed to get an energy session? It's twofold. One, they have tried everything else and nothing has solved their problem for them. They're still having the pains, or the emotions are just too high and they just can't get relaxed. With a Western medicine approach, with medicines, or with a series of tests, and they're looking for an answer still. I had someone come yesterday who went through the energetic or through the chemotherapy for thyroid cancer, and there's certainly toxins that happen in the body. And so her body needed to release some of those toxins out of the liver and into the kidneys. And that's the combination approach that says, not only does she said, yeah, I want to get rid of the cancer, but I want it to not come back. Tell me the reasons why it came in the first place. And we uncovered the fact that this area where the thyroid sits, she was having challenges as a child of being shut down. Dad did not allow them to voice their truth, did not allow them to voice anything in the home when he was around. And so that literally shuts down that throat chakra, it shuts down someone's voice, and it can affect the thyroid. And when you uncover stories like that, it miraculously makes it so that the illness does not come back, the cancer does not come back, and we can do the physiological aspects of clearing the body from, what was a more invasive type surgery. So the second part of your question was, how do you know that the body wants to communicate? How do they find me? In essence, it's word of mouth. That's the biggest. Someone's looking online and looking for a naturopathic doctor or looking for a holistic approach that gives them, some other answer, some other cause, or uncovering that underlying issue that's causing that pain, that's causing that shoulder pain to, be something that could be surgical in nature to heal, but they know internally, right? There's an internal knowing that there's some other thing going on here. And I don't want that more invasive approach. I want to find out the cause and have it heal itself.
I love that. And that's exactly why I worked with you. I've had this energy in my right hip for a long time. And of course, Western medicine is like, you must remove the hip and put a new one in. And I just know energetically that that's not going to heal my problem. Like that I am storing probably not even this lifetime, but other lifetimes of energy in that hip. So, I'm going to do another session here. So I'm excited about that.
Wonderful.
I love that. So you did not wake up one morning and be like, okay, my life's work is body talk. So how did this manifest for you?
Well, it's interesting because early in my days, I actually wanted to be a scientist. It was in my first, 10 years of my lifetime. I wanted to invent a cloud bed, right? These are the childhood things that we want to do. And I knew that you couldn't sleep on clouds. So, of course, I had this clear bed. I had logic associated with it. I'm a Virgo from my perspective. So I had all this practical aspect. It would rain inside the bed and then create these clouds, and you'd have clear sheets. And, of course, this fantastical story. But I ended up studying biology in undergrad. Went for different interviews when I was in college. Managed medicine was just beginning to arrive on the scene. Didn't know what medicine was going to look like at that stage. But I think I had an underlying fear that I would not be able, it wasn't underlying, it was real, of memorizing the medicines, right? I wasn't a great speller. And medicines are so complex, they're so similar. You've got the generics and the brand names, and it wasn't something that I felt comfortable doing. I wanted to tap into this innate wisdom. So unfortunately, or fortunately, as life brings us the challenges that it does, I took a job in investment banking in New York for a summer. I had also seen my surgery, and I went for job interviews in both banking as well as, oddly, pharmaceuticals. And the job that emerged was a job in Chicago, in which I got to go to business school at night. They paid for my complete education. It was called the First Scholar Program. And I got to work with very senior people in banking. And it was a lovely introduction to business, to accounting, right, to the nature of banking and kind of some of the core aspects of capitalism. And I did that for 29 years. While I was doing Body Talk in the background, I found Body Talk because of a metaphysical bookstore in Chicago. I was wandering in with asthma because my parents both had cats and I was allergic. I mean, really allergic to the cats. And I still had asthma. It was the Christmas holiday. It was January. And this woman was tapping on her head in the front of the room. of this big crowd in the cafe at the bookstore. So I sat in the back and I'm like, okay. She says, anyone having any difficulty breathing or sleeping? Well, I was having both. So I raised my hand and started walking up to the front of the room before she could pick anybody else. And she does this small little treatment on me and with some hand positions. And then again, taps on my head, my heart, and my belly. And she says, breathe. It was the deepest breath I had had in a lifetime, let alone in the last 2 weeks with the cats. And I literally canceled work and signed up for the course and took it the very next day for a long weekend for four days, and I was hooked. That was bringing back my biological background, and I just wanted to do this. And it took 21 years, well, actually 20, before I decided that I wanted a full-time practice in Body Talk, because I was doing both the banking and the Body Talk work together. But in 2022 in May, I made the decision to do Body Talk full-time, and the rest is history.
That's amazing because so many of us start off the side of our desk. And in fact, that was going to be the title of my third book. But a lot of people are like, what do you mean by that? But the thought is that like, we are working on our life's work in parallel to the lot of things that are keeping life going, that are maybe acceptable by society. Maybe we have circumstances that we have to meet. And I feel like this is a great story because you started over 21 years ago. You stayed in your day job for 20 of those years and you just leaned into it full time. And I would say that just working with you, your power is so sincere, so genuine, and so manifested comes to the word, but it's also meticulated. Like you've worked on it a long time. So you have the confidence and strength that you can help so many different people with things that they're struggling with.
Yes, because it's so complex. Everyone has a different story. Everyone has grown up in a different environment. And with the intuition that I've developed of understanding psychology and anatomy and physiology of the body, it just comes so naturally to be able to, see someone, listen to the body through that muscle checking, and be able to uncover that unique story for each person so that the body can naturally heal.
Naturally heal. So the body can naturally heal. I love that. So what's coming up for you? Where can people find you?
My practice, my physical practice is in Cincinnati, Ohio. And of course, do online sessions as well as phone sessions. My website is listentothebodytalk.com. I would say I have 80% of my practice in person now. After COVID, people have come back into the physical practice and wanted that, individual physical touch. But the online sessions are equally as effective. And I actually get my own once a month session from people around the world. I have practitioners in Hong Kong, in Canada, and London, and even Italy who speak English, which is very nice. And so I use this diverse set of practitioners online for myself. And then even phone sessions work just as well. I love the face-to-face, but it's that communication energetically. And because the person is doing the healing, it doesn't matter that we are in physical proximity or not, because their body is doing everything. I'm not channeling energy. I'm not sending anything but information. So again, that the body can naturally heal.
Well, hopefully you've gained a nugget from this conversation. Thank you, Katherine, for joining us and sharing your journey and giving us more insight to what Body Talk is, how it can help you, and how they connect. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful day and thank you for joining us.